Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Lady Black Kaleidoscope Project. Yay! It's Friday after a long and amazing week. Still on the Kamala high. Yesterday was Left-Handers Day. I'm winning at life this week. Let's be real. So, today, Friday, or almost Saturday, but anyway, I'm going to bring back my trusty rate 8 against hate list right here. And so just in case if this is new to you, the first time you're watching this program, welcome, hello, like, subscribe, it's going to be awesome. Join the journey. We're going to talk about these grade 8 against hate. So basically, I came up with this, and it's my 8 C's that I feel that are essential in becoming truly anti-racist and anti-bias. So they are courage, commitment, consciousness, curiosity, compassion, conversation, creativity, and community. So we're almost done this series. So today we're going to talk about probably my favorite, tied with curiosity, and that is creativity. Woo! Oh my god, I'm so excited about creativity. I was going to put on some rainbow earrings, but the ear thing just did not work out because I have really thick lobes, but that's a whole other thing. So what is creativity? So what I'm going to do, got my trusty Webster's Dictionary and Thesaurus. So let's see what it means. Creativity. Now, the ability to create. We'll talk about create in a second. But here are some synonyms. Synonyms. There you go. For creativity. Ingenuity, invention, inventiveness, originality, resourcefulness, fecundity. Wacky Work Friday. Or Freaky Friday. There you go. Freaky Friday. Good movie, though. Fertility, fruitfulness, productiveness, productivity, freshness, newness, novelty, genius, inspiration, and talent. So what does create mean? It said the ability to create. So, create. It is a verb. To bring into being, cause to exist. And some synonyms, say that 5 times fast, are bring about, cause, effect, effectuate, generate, induce, make, produce, prompt, result, work, yield, and then also engender, generate, induce, make, produce, spawn. Spawn. That is what that means. So, creativity is I love it. This whole show is a product of my creativity. So I just love creativity. I'm a very creative person. As you see, I love color and things coming together. I'm wearing my favorite color, turquoise. I love it. Oh my god, I love turquoise. It's my favorite color. My room's painted pink. This is my childhood bedroom, painted pink, because most girls, when I was 8 years old when we moved to this house, I was I love pink. I want everything to be pink. So anyway, I'm going to be really special today, really loopy, because I love creativity, and creativity's fun. So here's another interpretation of what creativity is, because we don't have to go with Webster's, because we're being creative today. Ha 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 ha. Take that, Webster's. Okay. Creativity is inventing, experimenting, growing, taking risks, breaking rules, making mistakes, and having fun. Mary Lou Cook. Basically, this is my entire way that I live my life. This is just my whole philosophy right here towards life. Doing all these things. I'm a very creative person. People who know me would say, yeah, I am. And creativity is not just yes, I've been blessed with a creative spirit, and I sing, and I play instruments, and I dance, and I've acted in the past, and I write, write and I do all those things. But anybody can be creative. Anybody can be creative. Creativity is for everyone. So that's important to remember. It is. And especially during this time right now, a lot of people, we got a lot of time on our hands because of the corona. See, corona, whatever. But like, it's giving a lot of people a lot of time to do those creative things that they haven't done. Like, cooking and what else are they doing? Cooking and, well, cleaning. But like being creative, people are taking up sewing, like sewing machines. Like the sales have gone up. I just saw that on the news today because people are taking up the hobby of creating things and creating clothes. That's just something I really want to do, is learn how to sew. So all you sewers out there, I love you. And I need to get a sewing machine. My grandmother has a sewing machine. I have it in my house, but it's like old school. And I think it was part of a sewing table, but I'm just like, nah. But I can always learn how to sew. When you're a Girl Scout, or at least when I was a Girl Scout, that was one of those things, learning how to sew. I could do like basic stuff. I mainly give my stuff to my mom when I need to sew. It's sad. I'm 37 years old. I'm like, Mom, can you sew this? I should learn how to sew. That's the thing. So hopefully, maybe I should do that during this time, learn how to sew. But anyway, sewing is like, something else to do. Like my BFF in my head, Henry Cavill, he's painting figurines. He built a PC. I'm sorry. That's that might not seem creative to you, but that's like so creative. Like putting something together. It's freaking amazing. That's badass, Henry. Good job. Anyway, but people are doing so many different things during quarantine. It's really kind of cool to see what people are doing, taking up new hobbies, doing things. So you got all the time in the world. So, here's another quote about creativity from my muse of everything. There we go. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have, Maya Angelou, who is like the goddess to me of creativity. As I said a couple of days ago, she's a polymath. She was a singer, actor, dancer, everything. So yeah, you can never be like, oh, I can't be creative anymore. Well, then you're not alive. You're probably just dead. Because creativity, just the word create. We are all creations. I believe in God. So, and it's such a great opportunity too. It's since it's, up in this hemisphere, it's summer, even in winter. Creativity is definitely tied to nature. So get outside, be in nature. I know because of social distancing and stuff, it's hard, but you can always be in nature. Even in the city. I love looking up at the stars and just being like, oh wow, so beautiful. Looking at God's creation, just looking at nature. Nature is gorgeous, and that's a great way to connect to your creative spirit, is by being out in nature. So many people have been inspired. Look at Thoreau. He was in Walden Pond, and he wrote all that stuff, all the transcendentalists like him and Emerson and Walt Whitman, who I read Leaves of Grass. Hello, look at this, Leaves of Grass. There you go. Nature, creativity. There you go. Put it together. So, creativity. Especially during this time. There's been so many beautiful murals and beautiful things with George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. The Black Lives Matter that was painted in front of Trump Plaza and the road leading to the White House. Art is such a way of activism. You can do so much through song, through so many things. It's been used as a means of activism, as a means of creating social change. And a great example of that is something that's has been in my own backyard in my hometown of Philadelphia for basically all my life. So it's been I think since 1984. And that is Mural Arts Philadelphia. Oh my God. There's so many murals around the city. We're known as the city of murals. I think it's amazing just to see that and just to see all the beauty, and it inspires you. Seeing public art is incredible. There are a lot of cities has murals, but I think we have the most in Philly. What? PHL 215. So Here's the description of what Mural Arts does, and this is from their website. Mural Arts Philadelphia is the nation's largest public art program, dedicated to the belief that art ignites change. Amen, sister. Yes, yes. For over 30 years, I think it's like 35, 36, Mural Arts has united artists and communities through a collaborative and equitable process, creating nearly 4,000 artworks that have transformed public spaces and individual lives. Mural Arts aims to empower people, stimulate dialogue, and build bridges to understanding with products that attract artists from Philadelphia and around the world, and programs that focus on youth education, restorative justice, mental health and wellness, and public art and its preservation. So, amazing, right? So it's a nonprofit. It's something that it was originally started by Jane Golden. She's a white woman who was commissioned by Mayor Wilson Goode. He's kind of infamous in the city because of the move thing. But one thing, good thing he did with Mural Arts was he commissioned Jane Golden. He was the first black mayor of Philadelphia. He commissioned her to help with the graffiti that was all over the city, and that was on private property, on public buildings, and that with the graffiti, why that happened at that time is like many cities, Philadelphia was dealing with. The city was decimated by a lot of the manufacturing jobs and industrial plants that were closed. Philadelphia is a working class town fundamentally, and there were a lot of manufacturing jobs and a lot of industrial jobs that went overseas. Similar things that were that happened in other cities along the Rust Belt, which is like a part of the Midwest and parts of like Pennsylvania and upstate New York that were affected. They were all incredible manufacturing steel places, like the auto industry, all this stuff. A lot of these things, like big major cities like Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Cincinnati and Detroit and Chicago and in Philadelphia as well. They were places. I mean, we're not along the Rust Belt, but there were a lot of industrial plants like in the state of Pennsylvania. So, with white flight, also where whites were leaving the city to move out to the suburbs. That started from like the 50s through the 70s into the suburbs. So a lot of the cities were left to poor, different races, but a lot of black and brown in Philadelphia, but also whites as well. And so basically, there were a lot of vacant buildings and a lot of vacant lots, and young people, because of the lack of jobs and stuff, some of them were started to spray paint and graffiti. And spray paint and graffiti is a beautiful thing, but it's on public and private property, which is like illegal. You can't really do that. So what Jane Golden was hired to do is she was commissioned to kind of find those graffiti artists and to use those creative energies, because I've seen graffiti that was around, and it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's on private property, but it's still really beautiful, even now. And to kind of use their gifts, use their talents to transform that, to beautify the city, and to like spread a message of like justice and love and peace and everything. And that's exactly what happened. We've had murals all over the city, and it's been going on for like this for 36 years, since 1984. So, and it's beautiful. It's something that it's a big badge of something that, the city of brotherly love, we're known as the city of murals. And having muralism being a big part of our city, I mean, everybody knows mural arts. Everybody in the city knows. And people come to it. Even in West Philadelphia, there's this incredible thing along the L, which is our subway, but it's elevated in my neck of the woods in West Philly. And they have a thing called A Love Letter to You, and it's all these beautiful murals about love, and it really is. And they give tours on Valentine's Day, and you can go and you can look at and it's on rooftops along the L, in West Philly, and it's beautiful. Because, even when you go on the L or walk on around the neighborhood on the L, it's just like, wow, this is gorgeous. And it's nice to, there are parts, my neighborhood or parts of the West Philly that I'm in and parts of the inner city, they're not the most aesthetically pleasing places. And we don't have that, not everybody has the money or the time to be able to go to the art museum. We have incredible institutions here. And so we don't have, everybody doesn't have the money, but to have that public art, that's why it's so great to have murals, because you can see these beautiful things in some, tough, gritty neighborhoods in Philadelphia. There are a lot of them. This is a gritty, tough city. It's only the strong survive. This what? You got to be tough. This is a hard city to be in. Tell you from first-hand experience. But it's nice to just see beautiful art, and with murals and with the Mural Arts Program. They do incredible things. They do so much, and I'm so grateful for them. And they're a great example of doing art for social change, using their creativity, people collaborating, coming together for a good cause, which is to beautify the city. And art inspires, seeing those beautiful pictures, it inspires, it lifts you, it makes you feel better about life. Life is hard. And I think it's important to remember to do that. The thing is that it can be really hard and it's tough. And art, for me, if I didn't have art, I would be dead. Like, if my creativity was taken away, you might as well just say give up. Because that is something that I've always used, and so many people. Everybody can be creative. Creativity is for everyone. Everyone. And creativity, that's the great part about, like yesterday I talked about conversation. Out of conversation, you can come up with so many great ideas and so many things. Like, I've had so many, when you talk to your friends and you have these little, oh, we should do this or we should do that. Sometimes a lot of times they don't come to fruition. But it's just great to just talk about it and talk about things like that. And like, oh, what if we could do this? But, you never know. Some of those ideas may come, to fruition. As I said, this channel, me even doing this, is an example of creativity. I love doing this. It's a lot of work putting these episodes together, but it's fun. I love writing these things out and coming up with the things and researching and doing all that. A lot of times people look at creativity as the end, the product, the thing that's produced. Like, for example, this episode, you're going to see this. But for me, the process of doing it is just as fulfilling than the outcome. And of course, the outcome's fun. I love to look at these episodes. I look at every episode just to see how I am and review it and stuff. And then I publish it and you see it. And, hi! There you go. But I love the process of doing it. And creativity really allows you to be in the present moment, and it allows you to be conscious. We talked about consciousness and meditation. It really allows you to just be in the moment. And I think that's really, really important. And especially in this time, I think a lot of people, they don't want to be in the moment. But, create out of great pain comes some of the greatest things. So much of the greatest art in the world came from suffering. So use this time with Corona, with all the unrest, with all these things, to do that. And it's going to, to become truly anti-racist and anti-bias, you have to be creative. We have to come up with creative solutions. We have to work together. You can do it individually. My just this even, my grade 8 against hate, that was a creative thing. I had conversations with my mom. I had conversations with my friend Lisa, like just talking about not these things, but my conversations with those two people really led to that. Ultimately, this was coming, necessity is the mother of invention, because this ultimately came about because I was like, well, how am I going to, what can I do to deal with white people? Because as I've said before, I've had this 7-year kind of moratorium on white friendships because I've had so many problems with them. So it's just like, okay, what are the things am I going to look for in a white person, in a white friend? What are the things that I need from them in order for us to really be close? And it kind of evolved, and it became this grade 8 against hate. This is just the thing. I was just coming up with these things just for myself, but then I was like, hey, maybe other people can get something out of it, and then it just kind of evolved and became this list. So, you know, I mean, creativity, I mean, like I always say idle hands are the devil's workshop. But using, like, being busy, being active, coming up with things, using your mind, it's just so fun to be creative. It's so fun. It's so fun, and it definitely kills time. It definitely gives you something to do, and it gives you a purpose. I mean, doing this channel gives me a purpose. It's like I'm being useful, because that's important. I want to feel like I'm useful, and I want to contribute. I want to know that hopefully this is helping people in some way, shape, or form. It might only be one or two people. Hopefully, eventually, it might be a lot of people. But it's helping me mainly. It's just a way of self-expression. My greatest value, the greatest value I have, is self-expression. I want everybody, I'm very live and let live. I want everyone to be able to express themselves fully, creatively, whatever that means. So, la 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 la. Okay. Draw a crazy picture. Write a nutty poem. Sing a mumble-gumble song. Whistle through your comb. Do a loony-goony dance. Cross the kitchen floor. Put something silly in the world that ain't been there before. And that's a poem called Put Something In by Shel Silverstein. Whatever. Sorry. Rest in peace, because he's no longer here. Creativity ultimately is about fun. It's having fun. It's so fun being creative, and it gets you in touch with your inner child, which I said in one of the last episodes, that, like, ultimately this whole Great 8 against hate, it's just about, these are things that help you to get in touch with your inner child, because ultimately, I mean, it's about, Buddhism talks about having the beginner's mind, and in Christianity, it's about, being like a child, like loving God like a child. And so I just feel like we're our most pure when we're children, and creativity is probably one of the greatest ways to reconnect with your inner child. Because I think a lot of people, I think it was Picasso or someone that said that, like, the creative adult is a child that survived. It's hard because it seems like creativity is beaten out of you unless you choose to go and be a creative artist, and that's how you earn your living, which is seen as alternative and like, that's so great. I've always struggled with that, being creative and earning a living. If you're lucky, you're able to bring it together and do that. Hopefully, we'll do that at some point in my life. That's what I hope to do. So. And this is my start, doing this channel, getting really, really doing that. So for me, this is incredible. That's why it's called a project, the Lady Black Flies Good Project, because it is a project. It's really about kind of putting myself out in the world and doing something creative, especially in a time when it's kind of like, it's good to just do something fun like this. But it really gets in touch with your inner child. Creativity, it does. It's so important. And creativity is about having fun. You know what? Like, this work, anti-racist, anti-bias work, really doing the work, is hard. And it can really suck the air out of the room sometimes. But it's good to have fun. Creativity is intelligence having fun. I also heard humor is intelligence having fun as well. So, I think creativity and humor are very tied together, and creativity, it allows you, it takes the pressure out of it. I think sometimes doing this work is hard work, and you need to have humor in it. You need to have creativity in it. You need to let loose a little bit, not take yourself so seriously, and also sometimes not take the work so seriously. I mean, yes, it's important to take it seriously. Absolutely. I'm not saying not to do it, but it's fun to have a little bit of humor and inject a little humor into the work. Be able to laugh at yourself. So many people I know cannot laugh at themselves, particularly white people. I don't know if that's a cultural thing or not, but I mean, for us, I think for black people, my mom is always, there's a song that says, you gotta laugh to keep from crying. Like, you have to laugh to keep from crying. I mean, that's why we, blacks, during slavery, we were singing and dancing just to get through the day. We also were like, those songs that we were singing were like messages to people, let my people go, and all, they were code for things. Because I think a lot of, even like capoeira, like in Brazil, like we came up with ways to stay sane, like during this horrendous institution that was slavery. Like we had to be creative in order to stay sane. So, that's I think Black people are so creative. I mean, other races are definitely creative, but that's one of the things that I love about being Black, because we are like, we put pressure under us and we produce diamonds. We have these. I mean, so much of American culture has been Black culture, and we've been doing it under the toughest conditions ever. We are an incredibly resilient, beautiful people who are so creative. So many of the, I mean, if you just look at American music, jazz, blues, which led to rock and roll, and like soul and all these things, and Motown and hip hop. I mean, these things that are global movements now were started in the Black community. These are things. I mean, of course, we're influenced by all different types of music, of course, from different races and stuff. But a lot of the American art forms are Black forms. They were started by Black people. So that's important to really remember. I know it's cool to, culturally appropriate and be like, ooh, let me twerk Miley Cyrus and do that. But that was started by Black people. So give us our credit. I know it's hard, but we deserve our credit because we are a creative people, and that's really important to remember. I'm not saying that white people are creative; they are, but a lot of the things that are a part of American culture, a lot of Western culture, it's African based. It's African, from the diaspora. It's so much of it, and it's definitely in the United States. It's amazing. Okay, so that was my little soapbox moment. But it's important to be silly and ridiculous and fun and be embraced with your inner child and stuff. And the thing that the show that I think is like the OG of like children's programming that really was incredibly creative and innovative of its time, and it's timeless. You can watch old episodes of the show and be like, this is amazing. It's still amazing. You know what I'm talking about. Sesame Street. What? Sunny day, sweeping the clouds away. Oh my God. Sesame Street means everything to me. Like, the Muppets mean everything to me. I probably will talk about Jim Henson in another episode. Probably on his birthday, which is in October, I think, or September. He's a Libra, but anyway. Sesame Street is celebrated its 50th anniversary. The first show aired on November 10th, 1969. And they just got recognized with the Kennedy Center honors right after the guy Carol Spinney, who played Big Bird, who was my favorite character on Sesame Street, died. Like, I'd like almost cry. I'm probably gonna cry at some point talking about Sesame Street because it's just so amazing. So, it was started. So basically, it was founded by Joan Gans Cooney and Lloyd Morissette, and they came up with this. I think Joan Gans Cooney. They were watching like TV, and they saw that children were responding to all these jingles on TV, like commercial jingles. My mom knows all the commercial jingles. Like literally, she will insert it at any point in conversation. It's like a lull, or if I come up with a word, she'll come up with a jingle for it that she remembered as a child, which is hilarious. She should have been a film music supervisor. We could be living in a bungalow in LA, but we're not. But still, we have a lot of fun because of the jingles that she sings that remind her of her childhood. But anyway, so they were like, hey, why don't we have something that kids can actually learn the alphabet, like learn things. So they came up with this concept of Sesame Street, and they partnered with Jim Henson, who had already been out there with his Muppets. So they partnered together, the three of them, and they started this whole revolution in children's television. And it's amazing. And it's changed so many lives. I mean, it's been 50 years, so it's been like Gen Xers, Xennials, Millennials, Gen Zers. It's timeless. I think it will go on forever. It's just, to me, it's like they're up there with the Beatles for me. Like when it comes to that kind of just incredible creativity, life-affirming creativity. It was very innovative at the time, especially when it comes its message of diversity and embracing diversity and just even like the Muppets and the animal and the humans, they all kind of talk to each other. There's a different couple of Muppets. There's it was like back then it was like interracial. They had a black mom and a dad, Gordon and Susan, and then Luis and Maria, who were Latinx, and they had Mr. Hooper's store, who was a white guy, and like they all like lived together in harmony and stuff. So it was like subliminal messaging, but in a positive way. Showing kids about this kind of ideal multi-racial, multi-muppetal thing. I'm a human muppet, by the way, if you haven't noticed. I love the Muppets. I love them. Anyone who has been on, like Henry Cavill, he was on that show. I like loved him. I was like, what? Anybody who has been on that, Nora Jones, who I love, was on the show. I'm like, oh my god, she was on the 50th anniversary special. You should Google that. It's really good. And she was singing the song "Thank You" or something, or "Welcome to the Party." I was like, oh my god, Nora Jones, Sesame Street, amazing. So, so yeah, it's like, so Sesame Street is amazing, and so, and it showed that, and it influenced me, and I just loved all the colors of all the Muppets and all the songs and stuff, and it was cool with adults because they would use popular songs and like, but fit it into the Sesame Street curriculum, and they're all over the world, and they're totally innovative when it comes to, like just the lyrics, and it's so creative and stuff. Oh, they're innovative when it comes to social issues. Okay, so like I remember back in the early 2000s when HIV was rampant in, particularly in Africa with children. They had an HIV positive Muppet, and recently in South Africa, because there's Sesame Streets all over the world, and in and they now have an autistic Muppet too. So, I mean, they're always trying, because they definitely change with the times. It used to be an hour, now it's a half an hour, but it's still awesome. And Elmo, goodness gracious, God bless him. I still have my Tickle Me Elmo somewhere. I think it's up in my closet, and I just loved it. I was like 15 years old when I got it, and it was just like, tickle me, and it just shakes. It still works. I think my thing still works, but I just loved it because Elmo is great. But my favorite character is Big Bird, and I love him and Snuffy and their relationship together, their friendship. It just makes me want to cry all the time. I love them. And me and my grandma, we would watch Sesame Street all the time because she always loved Bert and Ernie, and how Ernie would pick on Bert all the time, and she's like, "Stop picking on him. Leave him alone." Sorry, I love Sesame Street. I love it. So we're gonna close with the Rainbow Connection. I'm just gonna say the lyrics because they're just such beautiful lyrics, and it's written by Paul Williams and Kenneth Asher. And it was this. You have to Google the scene in the movie. It's the Muppet movie, the first Muppet movie, and it pans in and you see Kermit playing his banjo, singing the song. And I just watched it. He actually did like a quarantine version of it. You should Google it. It's really cool. And but this was back in 1973 when, I think 1973 or 74, early 70s when the first Muppet movie came out. It's an incredible song. I think it encapsulates like creativity and just the Muppet message and the Sesame Street message of just inclusivity and love and rainbow and just awesome. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to say it while wearing my rainbow bandana. I got this from Family Dollar. Look at it. Woohoo! Rainbows. I love rainbow. Rainbow is my favorite color. Rainbow is my favorite color. Look at that. See? Rainbow. Rainbow. Those are Tibetan prayer flags. But I mainly got it because it was rainbow. I love rainbows. I love rainbows. Okay. Because I got to get in the mood, kids. I got to get in the mood because I'm reading the Rainbow Connection. Okay. And see. Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that, and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing, and what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this a sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. I'm sorry, I'm about to cry. Like, it's just such a beautiful sentiment, because that's what, creativity ultimately can bring us together. We have it within us to create. All of us have it in us to create, and it can make such change, like the Mural Arts program in Philly and Sesame Street, and there's so many ways that you can make a difference through art, through creativity. Whether it's making a difference in your own life, just staying sane, especially during this, and people, and especially Black people. Goodness, Black people's ancestors during slavery, and all the things that they did, singing and dancing. They were singing and dancing to stay sane. It wasn't about, woo, we're all happy slaves, but it was just a form of staying sane, staying in touch with their divinity, because we all have divinity within us. We're all made of stardust. Literally, we are literally made up of the same things that the stars are made up of, the same elements that the stars are made up of. And that creativity gets us in touch with that we're all one. And that creativity is a great means. And in it itself, just being creative is fun. So, there are so many ways to be creative. And we are creative beings, all of us. We were all created in some way. In our mother's belly, we were created, out of love, pleasure, whatever. But we were all created to do something, we are of worth, but to do something that really makes a difference in the world. And we can do that in a small way, in a big way, in any way in the middle. And creativity is the way to do that. Coming up with ideas, coming up with things, doing things, being proactive. It's a verb. Creativity is a verb. State of being, but it's also a verb, mainly a verb. So it's important to remember that. We're all creative. We are all creative. We all have access to our own creativity. And if you haven't, gotten in touch with that side, you need to. This is the perfect time to do it, because it can make a difference. It can bring us together. So many people have come together, like Live 8 and all those music festivals and stuff, to make a difference in the world. We're all creative beings. Embrace your creativity. It's in you. We all have it. Use it. You'll never lose it, but use it. Tap into it. I could go on about this forever. This is probably the longest video I'm talking about, because I'm so passionate about being creative. So, I don't know. There's so many more things I can say, but I have to stop. So, just remember, keep on keeping on, because creativity is a process. And be patient with it and love it and be messy and get dirty and do all those things. It's okay. You can do that. That's the best part about it, is just doing it and being a part of it. So keep on keeping on. Live out loud. Use creativity to live out loud. And embrace your kaleidoscope soul, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Bye, everyone. Till the next episode, the final one of the Great 8+8. Great 8 Against 8. Bye, everyone. Goodbye.